Tonight on Joy News Prime, national minimum wage increased by 6% to 12 cedis 53 pesos from tomorrow, Friday, June 4. What does this mean? We'll be telling you. Also, rescue workers have successfully retrieved 9 bodies from the mine pit at Bani in the Upper East region that got flooded 3 days ago, with 3 miners still unaccounted for. We'll bring you the latest from that town. And later in this bulletin, as the nation marks 6 years since the June 3 flood and fire disasters that claimed more than 150 lives, a civil society group is suing the National Petroleum Authority, AMA and GOIL for compensation for the victims' families, but government is promising planned reconstruction of drains should ensure the epicenter of the tragedy and the vicinity will never experience flooding again.
The consultants, the Ministry of Works and Housing is working on reconstructing the whole drain from that side. They've started now, the processes are in place, and then the consultants have been to the assembly a few times.
One of our Safaran students whose enrollment into Achimota school became contentious finally joined his mates in school today following the intervention of the Attorney General.
The administration block, and when we're going, I think before we got there were some students in their dormitories, cheering, and that was very assuring. It made us feel like Ohineba was welcomed by the student body.
And Business Employers Association described new approach in determining national minimum wage as good for business planning. We'll hear from its chief executive. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Joy News Prime is coming to you live from our studios in Kokomlemle on your digital terrestrial TV, because we are free to air on DSTV channel 421 and Go TV channel 144. Remember, this is the home of independent, fearless, credible and impactful journalism. Do stay tuned in. Many thanks for choosing us. Let's begin with the national minimum wage, which has been increased by 6% from 11 cedis 82 pesos to 12 cedis 53 pesos. The increase, which is the outcome of a negotiation by the National Tripartite Committee, which was concluded on Thursday and takes effect from Friday, June 4. It simply means no employee in Ghana should be paid less than 12 cedis 53 pesos a day. Those earning below the minimum wage should expect it to be increased. The committee also settled on an 8% increase over the 2021 minimum wage for 2022, taking it to 13 cedis 53 pesos. Now, joining me with more on this is General Secretary of the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union, Solomon Kote. Good evening to you, sir. It's good news that the minimum wage is being increased, but 12 cedis 53 pesos is quite meager. Hello, Mr. Kote. If you're on, kindly unmute for me. All right. Mr. Kote is joining us via phone. All right. So before we hear from Mr. Solomon Kote, let's look at the statement that was issued. And it says, in line with Section 113 of the Labour Act 2003, the National Tripartite Committee concluded negotiations on the determination of the national daily minimum wage in respect of 2021-2022 NDMW, and which is 13.53 cedis, which is 8% over the 2021 figure of 12 cedis 53 pesos. The effective date for the implementation of the 2021 minimum wage is 4th June 2021. The effective date for implementation of 2022 minimum wage shall be 1st January 2022. In determining the new rates, the NTC took into account the impacts of coronavirus pandemic on the national economy, cost of living, sustainability of business, and desirability of attaining high level of employment. Thankfully, Mr. Solomon Kote has joined us again. Mr. Kote, is it good news taking into consideration the increase, 12 cedis 53 pesos, which many say is quite meager?
It's in a right direction. Looking at the coverage impact, but I think that the government can do more about it.
So for those below the minimum wage, they can expect a wage increase. But what does it mean for other workers who are above the minimum wage?
That one, it needs to be calculated. There should be an adjustment upwards, at least. I mean, it all depends on the company's operation. I mean, if things are working on well, I mean, if things are going on well, business is, booming, and there's a need for them to increase it. Yes, they have to increase it.
So is it regular that a minimum wage for 2022 has already been agreed well in advance?
Sorry, come again?
Is it regular for 2022's minimum wage to be agreed in advance?
Yes.
Is it a normal practice?
Normally, I mean, you look at the economic situation. I mean, the rising cost of the cost of living and other factors. Yes, at least. Yes, every year at least there should be an increase. I'm
grateful for your time. We're still live on Jory News. 3 miners are still unaccounted for 3 days after the Gbane mine tragedy in the Talensi district of the Upper East region. The rescue team finally retrieved 9 bodies that were trapped in the network of tunnels after successfully draining the pits which got flooded following a downpour. Our Upper East regional correspondent Albert Sori joins me via Zoom with more. Albert, your check suggested there were between 6 to 8 miners. It turns out there are actually more. Any updates on the 3 miners that are unaccounted for? Albert, if you're on, kindly unmute for me.
Yes, Aisha. So I was saying that these 3 miners are still unaccounted for. All day, the search team, after the water was pumped out, have been searching the underground tunnels to try and see if they can find their bodies. But there hasn't been any news yet. Now, we don't know what really goes on underground, but from the explanations that they gave, there are so many tunnels in there. And most of the time, when they're looking for gold, it is not possible for those of them who are outside to know which tunnel exactly which of the miners went into. So police and the search team who are still looking for these bodies are hoping that, as the days go by, or even tomorrow, they might be able to find them. Now, you were asking about how come the number is more. One of the things we learned yesterday was that initially they said that 7 miners were in there. Later, some others said 6. But why we think could be accounting for why the number has gone up to 9 and could even be more than the 9 that we know now is that there are some people who were outside of the mining pit, and when they sensed that the danger was coming, some of them rushed into the pit to try and warn the others. And these second batch of people, some of them did not make their way back out of the pit. So this could be accounting for why the number is more than the initial figure that the miners outside thought could be inside. So police are still looking for these people. They've given us the names of the bodies that have been identified today. But if you look at it, the youngest among them is 21 years old, and the oldest is 42. They are from 3 different communities. One of them is the Gare community. The other one is Tindongo, and the other one is Pal, which are all communities around the Gbane mining community in the Talensi district.
Albert, I've heard the authorities say that the mining activity is a legit operation, but are they able to say what sort of safety mechanisms are in place to prevent such accidents or minimize them?
Yes, so from what the regional minister said, the concession where these miners were found is a licensed small-scale mine, and this is where these miners were working. Now, because of the fact that they are not very advanced, the safety measures are not as advanced as the other large-scale mines are. But what we are learning could have accounted for this, even based on the explanations that one of the small-scale miners who led the minister around gave, was that this particular pit where the water rushed in through had been covered, but the pressure from the water, part of which was blocked by a road construction ongoing. This road they are talking about has been under construction. It's actually been worked on, but there's a culvert which hasn't been created to be big enough to allow water to pass, and so there was a blockade in that area, which caused the water to flood the road and then descend into the mining area and forced this pit, which they said was covered. The water forced it open and then went into the pit. And so one of the things I observed was that there were several other pits which were lying down all over the place. Some of them appeared to be abandoned, which were not also covered. And so one of the things the regional minister is talking about, because they've set up a committee to look into this accident, is that first they will have to cover all the pits that are not in use. And even the ones that are in use, when there is the opportunity for them to have them covered to prevent this from happening again, then that has to be done. Now, there were some Minerals Commission's officers who were also there yesterday. In fact, they advised that eventually, when they pumped the water out, it was not advisable for anybody to immediately rush into the underground to try and find the bodies, because what they call the roof of the underground sometimes begins to fall off because of the wet nature. So it's part of the reason the search even delayed late into somewhere 3 a.m. this morning, when these 9 bodies were identified and accounted for.
Albert Sorry is my colleague in the Upper East region, updating us on the Gbani pit collapse. Now, the minority in Parliament is demanding an independent probe by the Health Minister into the use of an ambulance to cut cement. Now, the ambulance in the viral video, one of those recently acquired by the state with GV registration number, is seen being loaded with bags of cement. The ambulance service has already explained the vehicle in question is not part of its fleet, as it was rejected due to a defect the supplier had to fix. Ranking member on the Health Committee of Parliament, Kwabena Minta-Kando, is accusing the National Ambulance Service of mismanagement. He says the ministry needs to build a better system that integrates the ambulance service and available beds at hospitals to ensure Ghanaians get better health care,
to say the least. And therefore, we are calling on the minister responsible for health to commission an independent probe into the matter with immediate effect and report back to Ghanaians to know who and who are culpable, what punishment has been given to who. That is what is expected of the ministry. The silence of the ministry is too loud on issues of public interest. And therefore, we are calling on the minister to constitute an independent probe into the matter for Ghanaians to know who are culpable and who has been punished for that particular offense. Again, we think that the ambulances have not been well integrated into the hospital or the healthcare delivery system, and therefore most of our ambulances in the various constituencies are idling. And that is when you have such a result. If we try and integrate them well into the system, where an ambulance, anytime that they are called upon, will immediately carry patients from one point to any healthcare center, we will not find such situations.
And here's a full statement from the National Ambulance Service explaining the ambulance loading cement incident. And it says the National Ambulance Service has completed preliminary investigations into the circumstances surrounding the incident. Our investigation have revealed the following. The said vehicle with registration number GV53720 was one of the ambulances awaiting the fixing of minor faults by the supplier before being received and integrated into the National Ambulance Service fleet. The incident occurred on or around March 26, 2021, while the said vehicle was in the custody of the supplier, Service Ghana Auto Group Limited. The suppliers had caused the ambulance to be sent to its garage to address a minor fault. The National Ambulance Service had earlier declined to take custody of the vehicle because of the fault. A mechanic of the said garage, Nano Fusu gearbox specialist, after the repairs drove the ambulance towards the Malam Castle Winneba Road on a test drive, and during the process employed the vehicle for his private purposes. The ambulance is still in the custody of the Service Ghana Auto Group Limited and therefore not being used by paramedics of the National Ambulance Service. It is not part of the National Ambulance Service fleet and is signed by Simons Yusuf Kewura, his head of public relations at the ambulance service. City authorities here in Accra say they will go ahead with a planned relocation of spare parts dealers from the Abosokan base despite protests from some of them. The traders have in the last few weeks accused their leaders of committing to the relocation without their consent. The leaders, however, insist they consulted the traders. My colleague Joseph Akable was at the spare parts hub where city authorities say they will go ahead with the relocation despite the concerns.
City authorities were joined by armed police and military men to undertake the cleanup exercise, which forms parts of the overall decongestion exercise that is underway. Some of the persons here who sell items, the spare parts, who more often than not are on this particular route, had their own thoughts about the exercise that is ongoing.
First, we have to think of the people who are here. They are living with their family. Now, when you sack him from the place he's selling, what will be his end? He'll get into stealing and robbery.
Look at over almost 25, 26 years. But to find new place to us, I congested.
His main concern has to do with the relocation, and he says that there are people who have rented stores here, and so if anyone is suggesting that all of them would have to move from here, that is impossible and it will not happen. But for some of them to relocate, that is fine, but it would also depend on how the market situation is at that particular side. The leadership of the Spare Parts Association have been responding to the concerns that have been raised by some of the members. They insist that majority of the members are actually in support of the decision to have them relocated from this side of town.
If they say it is too far, then I don't know where they are coming from, because it is 3 areas that has been proposed: Amasamai, Dahunya, and then Afienya. We are even yet to even visit the site and ascertain which one will be of relevance to us. It is not cast in stone that we are going to Afienya, that is being bandied around in the press. That is not how it is. We are here to visit the place and make our own choice. You understand? We have to put a lot of things into consideration before we come to a conclusion. So it is not cast in stone that, as people are saying, we are going to Afienya, we are going to Afienya. It is not like that. And we don't want people to create the impression that it is the government, and for that matter, the regional minister, who is forcing us to relocate. It is not like that. It is our initiative, and only they are throwing and facilitating, the program. They are throwing their support and facilitating the program for us. So people should not think that government is imposing something on us. Government. Get your members on board? Why not? This is what I'm telling you, that a general meeting was convened.
The general, but yet they still say that they don't want to go.
And I'm telling you, you cannot achieve 100% efficiency in whatever you do. But if you achieve 60-65%, it is good. When the meeting was held here, about 80% acceded, to the project.
The MCA explains that this is an exercise that will help, and so that people should be committed to it.
Those we are taking off the streets, we've talked to the executives. You see, they can manage in front of, behind the gutters. We just want the road to be free. Oh, if you had come here yesterday also, you will see where we are.
Actually seen the place. They are always on the road, even virtually in the middle.
Yeah, so we are just directing them to manage and go behind the gutters, so that by the time we finish with Afienya or Dowena, they will all get a bigger place to go there. It will not be easy, but at least we must try for them to see that we for once we are really serious. You see, yeah.
And you're not worried about the possible political implications. I mean, we listen to the people. They say that, look, they don't want to move from this place.
Oh, yeah, that's for that one. You get it. But when the political head, they get to know that you are doing a good job, people will go and talk or report. They will say, because the regional minister is the political head in the region. And he is leading this in conjunction with the assembly, myself, and the executive. So there's no cause for alarm.
And so the exercise continues to rid the city of filth, and also the long-term goal of relocating the traders here at Abosokai. Reporting for Joy News, my name is Joseph Akable.
6 years ago today, Ghana lost some 159 people through a flood and fire disaster. At least 300 others were directly affected by the tragedy. The day still brings painful memories to many Ghanaians, and yet some of the recommendations by the Justice Isaac Doche Committee that looked into the disasters have not been implemented. Civil society group One Ghana Movement has initiated a class action suit against the National Petroleum Authority, the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, and GOIL to seek compensation for the victims. We'll get to that shortly, but first, we'll bring you a report from Elton Bobe, who chanced on some of the charred remains of the victims on his way home that fateful day.
The loss that our nation has suffered is incomprehensible.
What started the night before as a heavy downpour at the center of the country's capital, Kwame Nkrumah Circle, was aggravated after a nearby fuel station exploded in the downpour, leaving an estimated 159 Ghanaians lifeless, while scores also sustained varying degrees of burns and injuries. Whilst the rain was seen as a natural occurrence, the fire, which worsened the situation, was later said to have been caused by a cigarette smoker who dropped a lighter stub into water that had oil floating on top of it. Some victims of the disaster recounts the day.
So I was opposite of police station before the incident happened. I'm about to run before the fire catch me for the face. So I had to feather into water, then I had to swim in the water and work. Because that night was horrible.
When I started to no move and you some because then say na metie said the time the tanker blasted, then it threw me away to the other road. I didn't see anything again. They can't take me to hospital. I stay hospital about almost 6 months. All my head is also bent.
Apart from the irreplaceable human life lost, 5 houses, including the GOIL filling station at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle, suffered various degrees of damage valued at 1.6 billion Ghana cedis. To prevent a future occurrence of the tragedy that hit the country on June 3rd, the Disaster Committee recommended the complete dredging of the door drain, a ban on the use of plastic as carrier bags, water dispensers, and cooked food containers.
A responsible moment, we have to do the right thing. On the 3rd, Accra had one of the highest level of rains, from which we lost, with the fire explosion, we lost 159 souls. Still counting.
People building in waterways, littering the drains, make it difficult for the flood water that comes from the mountains to reach the sea. And so we've created a human intervention between the source of the rivers and the sea where they are headed. We'll have to take some measures to be able to avoid this happening in the future.
Residents of Sodom and Gomorrah have built on the Kole They have every day come in, fill it with sawdust, covered it with sand, and then built upon it. Now, if you can look around, this is what has been left of the Korle Lagoon. Everywhere you are standing here, and everything you are seeing here is right in the middle of the Korle Lagoon.
It also suggested standardized training, certification and licensing of filling stations attendants, the creation of sanitation police, compulsory fitting of all commercial vehicles with refuse baskets or bins, and equipping of disaster managers with the requisite tools to effectively handle disasters. The committee also recommended the provision of air ambulances and helicopter firefighters, which should be managed by the Ghana Air Force, and a fund to cater for the injured and deceased families.
And as you heard in that report, the committee recommended the dredging of the Odo River. So what is the state of the basin which runs through Kwame Nkrumah Circle and parts of the Central Business District? My colleague Benjamin Akakbo was at the place and now reports.
As we continue our constituency and community project, today we find ourselves in the Klotekoli constituency, and we're going to be interacting with Hope Duamepo. Thank you for joining the conversation.
Thank you too.
You've been resident in this community, at least you've worked here for over 30 years.
Yeah.
What are the woes you face every year?
Every year it's all about flood. Every year flood. Every year flood. Every year flood.
For the over 30 years you've been here?
Yeah, during Rawlings' regime, the flood came only 95, and that's it. Until recently, they've done a shoddy job here, which has cost us a lot. Every time when...
What is that shoddy job? Let's talk about it.
So there's a gutter that they've constructed, which the olden days, they've done it open, big. Now they've closed it, they make it narrow and then cover the top. So when it rains, even pure water, when you pour water on the floor, it will flood. So anytime when it's about to rain, I have to leave Abilinkpe. When I'm not at work, I have to come to work and move all the cars out of the yard before the whole place gets...
Wait, you're telling me all these cars we are seeing here, you have to move them out of this yard?
I move them out.
Why?
Because of the flood. I have to move them out. Otherwise, I may lose a lot of customers.
Let's now get to the statement from the One Ghana movement on its class action suit, and it's right there on your screens. He said the victims and One Ghana movement have, through their lawyers, commenced a class action against GOIL, the National Petroleum Authority, the Accra Metropolitan Authority, and for their complicity in the disaster. While the court case continues, it is our expectation that the pursuit of justice will not only result in fair compensations to victims, their families, but will in the end punish officials found culpable. And joining me shortly on via Zoom on this one is Emily Nyo, who is with One Ghana movement. And Emily, I'm grateful for your time. What really motivated this class suit?
Thank you for having me. So, like was rightly said by one of the people who was interviewed earlier in the video, year in, year out, we have these flooding situations, you know, and the one in 2015 was a very terrible disaster. And so we believe that something has to be done to cause a change that will ensure that we all do the right thing. And so looking at the plight of the victims, One Ghana movement decided to work with them. We sought their legal consent, which they gave to us, and we are representing them in court to not only seek compensation for them, but to also ensure that officials are held accountable or liable for the actions and inactions which led to this disaster. Because once people are held liable for their actions, definitely it will serve as a deterrent to other people, and the right thing will be done moving forward.
Exactly what reliefs are you looking for? Exactly what compensation, and what do you want done to officials found culpable?
Well, we cannot determine exactly what should be done to them, but what the court determines as punishment for them to be held accountable for their actions and inactions which led to this disaster is what we are seeking for. And then you're asking what kind of compensation that would be financial compensation for the victims, because many of them have not received compensation till date, and it's 6 years now. They are struggling to move on in life. It's a very difficult moment for most of them. So this is why we are in court on their behalf.
I'm grateful, and I wish you all the best in this one. Emily Nyon is with the One Ghana movement. Government says plans to reconstruct drains and in and around the Kwame Nkrumah Circle and parts of the Central Business District will ensure the areas will not experience flooding. We'll bring you details of this shortly after business.
You're welcome to Business. I'm Charles Aite. The Ghana Employers Association says the timing of the announcement of the daily minimum wage will aid planning of their business plan, the salary expenditure. As you may have heard in the bulletin, the government, through the National Tripartite Committee, increased the minimum daily wage from 12 cedis to 53 pesos, which is a 6% increase of the 2020 figure of 11 cedis, 82 pesos. Well, the chief executive of the association, Alex Frimpong, joins us via Zoom with more on this. We're so grateful that you joined us. Going through the document, the Tripartite Committee has agreed on the minimum wage for this year. What exactly will this mean for employers when it comes to planning?
Well, thank you and good evening to your viewers and listeners. Primarily, for employers, 2021, from tomorrow, those who are paying below the national daily minimum wage may have to adjust the new level. But for 2022, it offers them opportunity to really do their compensation forecasting so that it will facilitate their business planning and the overall cost of running their business.
Well, of course, we do know that this might also open the doors for other workers, employees in the private sector to push for salary reviews. Are you in the position to honor such negotiations?
Well, unfortunately, that is not the case. The minimum wage determination is an indicative wage only. That is the minimum level below which no employer should pay in the country. Almost all organizations in this country have their own mechanisms for determining their terms and conditions of service, including salary. So if that has already been done, I'm not sure this sends a signal for anybody to reopen any negotiation. That is not the case.
But yet again, we also have this conversation on the back of, the debate of productivity. Of course, we've interacted with the Fair Wages and Salaries boss, and he has always been of the view that increments, be it daily minimum wage whatsoever, must be etched on productivity. What's your take on this?
Well, I think all over the world, including Ghana, that is what employers always yearn for. And if you look at our labor law, it recognizes the fact that remuneration should be matched with productivity. So for businesses, it's very, very important. So in really determining your compensation remuneration internally, I think one of the key principles that should guide the levels should be productivity.
All right.
Yes.
We're so grateful that you joined us for your thoughts on this one. Moving away from the matters regarding the daily minimum wage, Premier Lottery Company 787 has recorded yet another big jackpot in Obuasi in the Ashanti region, with the winner taking about over 90,000, that's 900,000 Ghana cedis. Here's more.
Francis Adade Krantin, who emerged the winner of 936,000 cedis, was so surprised as 787 team drove all the way to Obuasi to present Francis with his prize. With so much excitement, Francis admonished Ghanaians to partake in the 787 draw as it is the surest way to riches.
I got to know about star 78 ash through my phone. They sent me a message that there's a lottery going on, so I should participate. I started participating, I think, about a year ago. Sometimes I will take, let's say, about 200 Ghana, and the results will come. I will not win anything. I will win. Sometimes I will win 10 cedis, 20 cedis. So it got to a time I lost hope that I was even going to stop staking it. Then I said, no, I still have confidence that I will win one day. When I was watching the Chelsea football match, then I got a message that I've won the jackpot, which is 916,000 Ghana cedis. Then the topmost price of 20,000 Ghana cedis. So together making it 936,000 cedis. Immediately I saw the message, I got a call from their head office to congratulating me.
Richard Akotobanfo, head of customer experience, had this to say.
This year, I believe we have all seen it all with star 787 hash. Early this year, there was a jackpot value of 101,444,000. Late last year, we had a record of 980,000 plus. This very Saturday, which is today, Wednesday, we are celebrating a jackpot win of 916,000 Ghana cedis and a unique prize of 20,000 Ghana cedis, together 936,000 Ghana cedis. Minya, if you are watching me from home, this is your moment to win the new jackpot value, which is 100,000 Ghana cedis this very Saturday. All you have to do is to load your mobile wallet and then dial star 787 hash, buy a ticket as less as 5 Ghana cedis, and if you want to win bigger, you buy more tickets. I would advise you buy the full house package, and you can stand a chance to transform your life in just a twinkle. So take your opportunity now, dial star 787 hash on your phone and then play to also change your life.
Well, that'll be all for business. Sports is up next. Just stay.
Time to bring you sports. My name is Hans Mensah Ando, and chairman of Accra Hearts of Folks Chapters Committee has assured fans of victory as Hearts play Great Olympics on Sunday. He spoke to Joy Sports in an interview today.
It's a tough match. Hearts of Folk against Olympics is a regional derby, and as we all know, always it's a tough match for Accra Hearts of Folk, especially when we've lost the first leg to Accra Great Olympics by 2-0. And this match is also going to determine whether we are really serious to win the league or not. So I'm calling on all supporters to come. Even though Accra Great Olympics is playing home, I am inviting them to come in their numbers. Let us overshadow them. Let us ensure that our numbers will overcome them on the pitch. You know, we've got to shout for 90 minutes to ensure that we get the 3 maximum points, because we cannot lose that match to Accra Great Olympics if indeed we want to win the league. So far, so good. Yeah, I think that at the beginning of the season, we said to our supporters that we cannot go for more than 10 years without winning a league trophy. It was very important for all of us to come together, to unite for that cause, and it wasn't easy. You remember when we started, I personally had to even lead a demonstration against the board and all those things, but we thank God that our effort, it's been seen, our effort is where we are now. We are on top of the league. It's not been easy though, but I think it's a collective effort. Especially, we have to say kudos to the technical team led by Coach Samuel Boedu and the players. They've done. From the beginning, we knew we had the best of players, we had the best of team to win the league. But just that there were some few issues back there, and we've been able to sort it out. There is unity in Accra Hearts of Folk, and it will be very, very difficult for anybody to overcome us at this moment.
Let's move to another regional derby, and the Ashanti derby comes up this weekend as Asante Kotoko play host to Ashanti Gold on Saturday. Kojo Asante, who is a National Circles Protocols Officer, says Kotoko will take the 3 maximum points from Ash Gold.
Kumasi Asante Kotoko and Ash Gold, we are family. So sometimes people think that Kotoko will give up so that the maximum points will go to Ash Gold. It is not so, because everybody needs their 3 points. Because you see, since last year, I think 17th of February, Kotoko has suffered a lot. The home grounds, we came to Accra, we go back to Obuasi. So now, we determined to get the maximum point so that we can crown the top of the league. Because as you see, House of Folk is challenging Kumasi Asante Kotoko to take the league. But we also won the league. So I think Sunday match between Kumasi Asante Kotoko and Ashgood, I think we are going to take the maximum point from Ashgood on Sunday.
Have you missed the Baba Yala Stadium?
Yes, of course, because all this difficult that we are going through, I think if we are playing our home grounds at Baba Yala, I think we will already take the league as we do it before. But now you see the challenges because of we don't have our home grounds in Baba Yala. We go back and forth, back and forth. That is what caused us as at now. But I think Baba Yala is our home grounds. So yes, we need Baba Yala back so that we can play our good forward that we are always play. I think I miss Baba Yala a lot.
Some fans of Accra Hearts of Folk and Kumasi Asante Kotoko were today presented with authentic club jerseys by Shen Transport Limited after participating in the UEFA Champions League final predict and win contest. Bawa Adayina, who is the managing director of Shen Transport Limited, has assured fans of Kotoko and Hearts his outfit will collaborate with the supporters front to promote the game.
We have loyal followers who follow Shen. Shen is a new ride-hailing company in Ghana. We start operating this month soon, and we aim to be the best ride-hailing company in Ghana because of the services and products we'll be providing. Yeah, so we decided to, as part of appreciating our followers on various social media, we engage them in a competition. They have to predict the final correct score line in the UEFA Champions League final competitions, and we got 6 lucky winners. And as part of promoting the local football or sports in Ghana, we told them that we'll be rewarding them with their favorite sports club jerseys. And yes, we had 6 winners, and they told us they prefer Accra Hearts of Folk and Kotoko jerseys, and we went to the secretariat of these 2 great clubs to get them their jerseys. So today we came to present to the jerseys to them as part of honoring our promise. So as part of supporting the supporters front, Shen will be collaborating with them, with their supporters front very well. They will need to subscribe, and as they use a Shen, some percentage of our proceeds will go to the national supporters front. So they'll pick it up, and I believe they'll be passing most of this info to the supporters.
And that's it for this installment. More sports later in the bulletin. My name is Hans Mensando.
And Becky is here with Showbiz. Hello, Becky.
Hello to you, Aisha. I miss you. How are you doing?
I miss you more. I'm doing well.
So Shatawale had the State of the Industry address yesterday, and he said a lot of things. He addressed a lot of things in the industry, some of the woes in the industry and how to amend them.
Okay.
One of the things that he also spoke about is the fact that Ghana doesn't have like a real sound, as in a real genre that can be represented across the globe.
Okay.
So he traveled out of the country. He was there as a dancehall artist, but people kept asking him, what is the real sound
of Ghana?
Keteke. High life, we can say it's high life.
Of course, we do.
Yeah. So what he's saying, or what he's asking industry players to do, is to come together and appreciate one sound that can be sold or that
to the international world,
globally.
While I was in the States, I was in business meetings with different foreign stakeholders and investors, and one question they all seemed to ask was, what kind of music do Ghanaians do? And the question was one that kept me thinking. Indeed, I was speaking with them as a dancehall artist, but they still needed to know the kind of music we do here in Ghana. Basically, they wanted to know what genre we are known for as a nation, and that I found interesting. I want to propose that we as music makers and stakeholders come together to identify one genre that can be attributed to all music works coming from our parts of the world. Let's do this for our industry to give it the global attention we have long desired. Secondly, I want to plead with musicians in Ghana to pay some more attention to the business side of the craft. One thing that I have long campaigned for is for the artists to take and see their talent as a career and as a business entity. Let's learn to make money with our talents. Let's invest in educating ourselves.
I have seen of Shatawale. I mean,
that's president.
It was cool and calm, well composed, devoid of the usual thing.
That's because he's addressing the nation, and this time around he's reading. You know, when you're reading, you need to pay attention. You need
so
to
you don't miss.
So he was sticking to the script that was given to him. So Aisha, Sarkodie has been trending the whole morning. He's released Coachella featuring Kwesiata, and the first airplay of the video is right here on Prime. It was released 1 hour ago, and so this is, you know, my gift to you
from Becky to you.
Yeah. Aisha, let's before I go, let's talk about Dr. Pounds. 2 weeks ago,
that wedding.
I tell you, everybody in Accra, we all moved to Cape Coast.
Maybe the Cape Coast people should have come to Accra. They will swap.
So a lot of things have been missed, you know, and for the Joy News viewers, I want to bring back, you know, some of the things that you've missed.
Dr. Pounds do all.
I tell you. So he's giving everybody else pressure.
Oh,
next
the celebrities were there.
Next weekend, I'm inviting everybody to my wedding.
Your pressure, no, you know, be here, matter.
Our producer Jojo,
we have to go and bring Beyonce.
Oh, Beyonce will be there.
And Cardi B.
Cardi B.
All of them must be.
I mean, all of them.
All
you
of
know
them.
me. You know how I do it.
Of course. I trust you.
Should I leave you?
Thank you.
Should I give you something else?
Okay, let's continue after here.
Okay,
you gave me that present. Oh my goodness. Unfortunately, your time is up. Tomorrow we'll talk about that present. Thank you so much for making us showbiz. Showbiz. Government says plans to reconstruct drains in and around the Kwame Nkrumah Circle and parts of the Central Business District will ensure the areas will not experience flooding the next rainy season. The MCE for the area, who made the promise, explains he's optimistic the projects will have been completed by then. Speaking at the 6th Memorial Service of the June 3 flood and fire disasters held at Ground Zero here in Accra, he said government is already in talks with consultants to redesign the drains and engineers works to avoid flooding.
Since the burning of the market, government is trying as quick as possible to correct the engineering problem most people say is to do with the water flow from this community into the Minodo drain. One, apparently it meets where it is so. It meets the water from the mountains in the Moin drain at 90% angle. That needs to change. I think that is going to be corrected. And then also all the way from Paloma on the ring road, Kudi, the water that comes through Asalam Dam to the main drain. We have the consultants, the Ministry of Works and Housing is working on reconstructing the whole drain from that side. They've started now, the processes are in place, and then the consultants have been to the assembly a few times. What they are trying to do is to start work now, and hopefully by the next rain, not this time around, they would have probably done the redesigning of the major drain that goes underneath the market before the rebuilding of the market can also start.
At the memorial to mark June 3 disaster, Joy News' Mamiesi Thompson says that survivors were appealing to government to support them financially. Now, Executive Director of the Ghana Center for Democratic Development, CDD Ghana, says summoning former Deputy Attorney General Dr. Dominic Ayene before the Disciplinary Committee of the General Legal Council over comments he made during an open dialogue threatens the right to freedom of speech of every lawyer in the country. Dr. Ayene, a member of the former President Mahama's legal team during the 2020 election petition, questioned the judiciary's independence with regard to how the Supreme Court arbitrated the petition. This was during a CDD election review program last month.
Petition, conduct a survey, a public, survey, a poll of perceptions of independence of judges, the judges on that particular panel. All right. And I'm sure there will be empirical, there will be responses that point to the fact that people perceive that the judges were not being independent. Okay, because just look at how the justices dealt with the petitioner's case, from the beginning to the end. All right. You can, I don't want us to go into the legal merits of that. What is, for instance, wrong? In allowing interrogatories to be administered, okay, for instance, to the Electoral Commission, okay, what is particularly wrong in allowing the Electoral Commission, to answer a notice to admit facts and so on and so forth, all right? The fact that the notice to admit facts was filed and served on the petitioner and the court went silent on it, is itself very telling about the independence of the judiciary. And you can draw irresistible inferences from the conduct of the case about the independence of the judges. And I'm entitled to that view. That is a view that I have taken. My
challenge to you is, so if they are not judicially independent, somebody must be interfering, and who is? Because he said you cannot raise that question without proving that there's somebody interfering.
Look, I don't want to. I already got into a lot of trouble speaking after the court matter. I don't want to be quoted as having said that somebody was manipulating the Ghanaian judges behind the scenes. I have made my point sufficiently clear that you could draw inferences from the way the justices handled the matter that they were not being independent. That is a position that I'm ready to take publicly.
That was Dr. Dominic Ayene at a CDD event. Now, following his comments, a petition has been filed at the General Legal Council to have him investigated. Judicial Secretary Cynthia Pamela Akotua-Addo says Dr. Ayene's alleged repeat of such statement has displeased the Chief Justice, hence the petition. But Professor Henry Kwesi Prempeh disagrees. He says this act will impact negatively on both academic freedom and the freedom and ability of civil society to promote judicial accountability, including through projects like the Judicial Review series. Here's his post on Facebook on your screen, and H. Kwesi Prempeh writes, so now members of the Ghana Bar cannot offer a personal, unflattering opinion of the judiciary on an academic, a civil society, or other public discussion platforms, even after a case has been decided, without risking being held before the disciplinary committee of the General Legal Council. Really? On the same platform where this lawyer expressed the opinion that has earned him an invitation to appear before the disciplinary committee of the legal professions regulator, other panelists, the judiciary, including other lawyers, strongly disagreed with him in his opinion of the judiciary regarding the case under discussion, with some praising the court's handling of the matter. In other words, the platform on which the lawyer spoke was a veritable marketplace of ideas and opinion, with panelists debating each other in frank, open dialogue. This, incidentally, was a webinar discussion organized by CDD Ghana in collaboration with the KNUST Law Faculty as part of a new judicial review series, a partnership between CDD and 2 law faculties in Ghana that aims to review and examine decisions of the courts for their impact on democracy and good governance. This particular panel, which examined the recent Ghana election petition through a comparative lens, featured 2 foreign participants from Kenya and Zimbabwe, 4 Ghanaian lawyers, and me. And that's, I guess, is referring to himself, Professor H. Kwesi Prempeh. That an opinion expressed at such a forum to contestation from other participants would cause anyone to lodge a formal complaint with the disciplinary committee of the General Legal Council is unprecedented, bizarre, and ill-advised. Not only is this bound to have a chilling effect on the free speech rights of lawyers, it will also impact negatively on both the academic freedom and the freedom and ability of civil society to promote judicial accountability, including through projects like the Judicial Review Series. I find no justification whatsoever for the disciplinary committee of the GLC to be brought into this matter or to investigate Dr. Dominic Ayeni for the opinion he expressed on the panel. It cannot be okay for a lawyer to praise a court for its handling of a matter, but an act of professional misconduct or contempt of court for another lawyer to express a contrary view of the same court about the same matter. Those are his comments, Professor H. Kwesi Prempeh's comments on Facebook. Now to some education. Oheneba Kweku Nkrabea, one of 2 Rastafarian students whose admission to Achimota School became contentious for weeks, finally enrolled in the school Thursday. It followed the intervention of the Attorney General, who directed that the school admits the 2 boys, even as it appeals the Human Rights Court ruling on the matter. Parents of Oheneba tell Joy News he was welcomed with loud cheers from other students and a warm welcome from management. Kwekwa Sante has more.
The High Court ruling was expected to bring a close to this matter, but that was short-lived when the Achimota School's Board of Governors announced that not only were they going to seek an appeal of the ruling, they wanted to file a stay of execution, which would have essentially prevented the boys from going to school until the appeal was heard and decided in court. The Attorney General and Minister for Justice, Godfred Yeboah-Dame, however, directed the school to withdraw the application for stay of execution and admit the 2 dreadlock-wearing students pending the appeal. After weeks of a heated legal battle and war of words, one of the 2 students, Oheneba Kweku Nkrabea, has been admitted, while the other is expected to be admitted on Friday. Outside the gates of Achimota School, journalists awaited the arrival of the students and parents due to the huge media and national interest in the case. Mana Myers is mother of Kweku Nkrabea. He says they were welcomed to loud cheers of students and also to a warm reception by the school manager.
We approached the administration block, and when we're going, I think before we got there were some students in their dormitories, cheering, and that was very assuring. It made us feel like Oheneba was welcomed by the student body. It was their school, the day school prefect, the day students prefect, who approached us in a very warm and nice manner, told Oheneba, asked Oheneba whether, he was a day student or a brother, and he said he was a day student, and she said, oh, okay, then you are going to be my school son, and told us that, Oheneba was welcomed, nobody was going to do anything to him, and that if he had any problem, he should just approach her, and that was very reassuring.
Oheneba Kweku Nkrabea's dream of attending the Massachusetts Institute of Technology was on hold as the legal battle raged on. He has joined his colleagues in class, and for him, that puts his dream back in motion. His father, Ras Aswad in Krabia says he's excited about this new development.
It was wonderful. I was, very elated because of the fact that we finally got to this point where he can go into the school that he wanted to go. I've been here from 5 minutes to 6. And when we got here and went to the administration hall, our building, as we were standing outside, we heard a very loud noise, and when we look around, there were so many students at the building, and they were just welcoming us and showing their appreciation, and that made me feel very good.
Right. For him, what body language did he show?
Oh, well, he's not a person that is expressive like that, He was just smiling and, very calm with the situation. I think it's later that we will probably hear from him what took place.
I'm very grateful, sir. Thank you. The other student, Tyrone Iras Magai, is expected to go through admission processes on Friday.
The Ministry of Works and Housing is assuring residents who live along the country's coast that their concerns about the sea defense project being constructed by government will be addressed. One of the main complaints with the project, which seeks to halt the advancing sea, is that the livelihood of the fisher folk along the coast is threatened. Sector Minister Senso Boache, who is touring the project site, the central and western regions, explains all the concerns of the residents will be incorporated into the design. Richard Kwejo-Nyakwa has more in the following report.
The Works and Housing Minister was impressed at the rate of work of the contractor that is constructing the sea defense. The sea defense project was initiated following the devastating effects the sea was having on the shorelines of the country's coast. With about 60% of the project completed, Francis Asenso Boachi believes government vision of protecting the shorelines was on course.
I'm very impressed with the work I've seen here so far. This project was meant to, one, protect this famous European castle, Cape Coast Castle, because of its tourist potential. It's also supposed to enhance fishing activities here in Cape Coast. Fishing is one of the major economic activities for the residents of Cape Coast. So the project is supposed to enhance. It's supposed to protect life. And all these defense projects are going to protect them. And I'm happy to see that this fishing is
And as we mark the June 3rd disaster, Joy News' Mamesi Thompson is reporting survivors are appealing to government to come to their aid.
Prayers for the souls of at least 159 persons who perished on June 3rd, 2015. Hundreds of workers were trying to find their way home on that fateful day. Many others were also preparing to wrap up business at the PTC area of the Kwame Nkrumah Circle when the disaster occurred. A day many lives were lost.
Omirikisi ayentumi na no ne yefre ne nsamampo akujem nyame baatampa wayade ye wasiade ye wasabe makatache ehuna nyankwa asense nyame a obi antumi ne nse obi ane ne nse wosoro obi ane ne nse wasasi so wona ka che Moses ko ukone se Pharaoh busa wakase I am that I am onyame a wode Ghana abesi wasafori ehwe ani.
42-year-old bus driver Kasim Suraj suffered third-degree burns. His wife and son didn't survive. Since the incident, he has surgically operated on many times. Now the hospital is my home. Since the time I got injured, I've had 20 surgeries and counting. He depends on kind-hearted people to survive. For the past 6 years, I depend on people. It is difficult paying my medical bills. 50 54-year-old trader Juliana Obenewa can no longer sell because of her injuries. She is a single mother of 3 who is barely making ends meet. I used to hawk plantain and cassava near the Odona market until the disaster struck. I suffered serious injuries. It hasn't been easy. But Municipal Chief Executive of Korle Klote Municipality, Ni Ajay is unsure of government's plan to support them.
You know, when this whole thing happened, government and other stakeholders spent a lot of money taking care of our brothers and sisters in the various hospitals, etc. So a lot of money is gone into that. The victims tend to think that some support that they had came from outside this country. But when such things happen all over the world, other countries come to contribute their quota by means of support to the local to the government of the country. So whatever support came from overseas to add to what government had and was disbursed, my understanding is that they've been looked after.
Until they receive help, many of them will continue to suffer.
An 8-man specialized unit named the Ghana Immigration Task Force has busted a human trafficking syndicate operating in the UK with their counterparts at APAM here in Ghana. The group, which is sourced from the Ghana Immigration Service, is to help fight organized immigration crime groups, especially between Ghana and the United Kingdom. We'll get more of this from the service, but first, here's the Controller General Kwame Tuatechi speaking at a ceremony where the visiting UK Home Secretary handed over an office complex from which the task force will operate 24 hours in a day.
Selection process started with 60 officers of the service. These officers were taken through various processes of selection, which included document fraud examination, polygraph tests, and a strict interview session. The above scrutiny exercise led to the selection of final 8 out of the initial 60 officers. The officers have undergone various levels of training to equip them for the task. In February 2020, before the onset of COVID-19 in Ghana, the team undertook an investigative case in Ghana at a town called APAM, which led to the identification and subsequent breakup of a syndicate in the United Kingdom. It was a human trafficking case where the syndicate, together with its Ghanaian collaborators, recruited unsuspecting victims as seafarers. This was a major breakthrough for a task force which was yet to assume full operations. The team has received some support in terms of modern equipment and a Toyota Fortuna donated by the British government as part of its collaboration. We are very grateful for the support. Ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to inform you that the location of this office facility being commissioned today is strategically situated to enable the team carry out its mandate effectively with stakeholders at the Ghana's busiest frontier, Kotoka International Airport, and will be operational 24/7.
Head of Public Affairs at the Ghana Immigration Service, Superintendent Michael Amuakwata, explains the human trafficking syndicate is still being unraveled even after the bust.
So that is the Ghana Immigration Task Force, is a specialized unit that is in place to fight against organized immigration crimes and also document fraud. And their first major assignment was the busting of a syndicate where a company in Ghana tried to recruit innocent Ghanaians with the guise of sending them to the UK as seafarers. Then when they get to UK, their passports and other documents and monies are seized from them, and then they are forced to engage in certain jobs that is dehumanizing. And they were able to track one of the kingpins behind this, and also to get information on the other side, that is in the UK, and the syndicate was busted, and some arrests and prosecutions have been made. And it is an ongoing investigation, and from the Controller General, as read in his speech, it was a very big success for the unit and to set the pace for them to do more of such investigative operations.
Meanwhile, Interior Minister Ambrose Derry says migration and border security remains a priority, and the task force working together with the UK counterparts will clamp down on such crimes, including sexual exploitation and human trafficking.
I believe that what we have between Ghana and the UK is true friendship and true partnership, and already the benefits are clear for all of us to see. I would say that we've had this collaboration which has benefited us, not just protecting the country from immigration crimes, but also during the COVID. Immigration played a very, very important part of our effort to keep COVID under control. The results of that effective border management was manifested when 10 persons, Burkinabe citizens, were arrested in a hotel in Tamale, and that was due to the hard work of the immigration services. And we do know that these offenses affect the governance of the country, they retard economic development, and crimes such as labor exploitation, forced labor, sexual exploitation, and now slavery, modern day slavery, are trends that we must all fight. And I want to take the opportunity to thank the British for building our capacity to be able to do so.
The UK, which is funding the project, says the investment is aimed at achieving high standards of investigations, including appropriate handling of suspects while they're being processed for court. Home Secretary Priti Patel, who has also met with National Security Minister Albert Kandapa, says the Migration Task Force will liaise with UK immigration officials directly.
We've just heard about how organised immigration crime and criminals exploit and prey upon the most vulnerable for their own greed. And also they are there abusing them and making money out of their harsh and callous business. So we know that through our enforcement agencies and the work that we can do together, we support each other, but actually by working together through the techniques, the intelligence sharing, the information sharing, how we can operationalise together, we can stop this appalling crime. And we can do much more work upstream, prosecuting them here in country, using the full force of the law and the full arm of all aspects of law enforcement to make sure that we can stop this appalling trade in people trafficking and organised immigration crime. So I'm delighted that we now have the Ghanaian Immigration Task Force with its permanent office and facility. The Honourable Minister and I will be looking at the facility shortly. It's an investment that my government is proud to make here in Ghana. And it's important in terms of training officers, it's important in terms of the skills and the capability that are grown here, but also we have the skills, the ability to interview suspects, protect victims, and we will have custody suites here. So these are vital tools to enable all our officers, we've had the privilege of meeting our officers here today on the ground, to enable them to not just do their job, to protect the population, both Ghana and the United Kingdom, from these appalling immigration crimes that have been taking place.
President Akufo-Addo says support from the late Kwadwo Owusu-Afriyie in his bid to become president shows his commitment towards the governing NPP as well as the country. According to the president, when many party supporters raised doubts about his ability to regain power for the NPP, said John had absolute confidence in him. The president praised the former CEO of the Forestry Commission in a tribute at the final funeral rites for the late Sir John. Nana Ojima has more in the following report.
The president, who attended the funeral with his vice, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, opened the tribute with a quote from the late party stalwart.
Make no mistake, Nana will lead MPP even if he is in a wheelchair. The date was 3rd September 2013. And Kwadwo Owusu-Afriyie was in the studios of Hello FM, a Kumasi-based radio station, making this famous statement with such utter conviction.
According to the president, the former general secretary of the NPP never reneged on his belief of an another win for the NPP.
For me, that statement of 3rd September 2013 reinforced my belief that I could always count on Sir John, affectionately known as such, as the only knight in Ghanaian politics.
The New Patriotic Party says the witty nature in which the once General Secretary Kwadwo Osuafie expressed his candid opinion in politics will forever be remembered. General Secretary John Boadu read the tribute.
Sir John also had a fierce independence and innate decency. He spoke his mind and was not afraid to rock the boat when he felt it was the right thing to do so.
A tribute by wife of the deceased, Agnes Boache, said though he devoted time to the party, he executed his responsibilities to the family. Here is the tribute read on her behalf.
Since you left, I have had friends and family tell me that it is well and that I shall be fine. Darling, I will not be fine without you. Considering my sickness and health issues, where will you be to display your compassion and companionship? Fall sick again. Who will buy medicine for me?
The final funeral rites of the late politician brought together many from all over the country to his hometown, Accra, where the rites were held. Political parties, including the NDC, who were led by Johnson Esiedun Ketia, paid their last respect.
I think that we have demonstrated the lessons. It is up to the young ones to emulate. And that lesson is that multi-party democracy should not divide us into enemies or fighting camps.
Many present at the funeral spoke of Sir John's generosity and wit as key character traits.
Sir John was a great politician and fantastic person. I recall the last conversation I had with him must have been some 10 days before he kissed the dust, and it was quite deep, and it all had to do with Ghana and Ghana and Ghana and Ghana and Ghana.
And he did his best during his tenure as General Secretary. Although he didn't give us a win, we all saw the dynamism in Sir John.
I am a typical example of a political officer from Sir John. One who took me from nowhere and made me who I am today.
Behind me is where Kwadwo Osuafie, popularly known as Sir John, will take his eternal rest. He was 68. This place has now become a point for photo taking. Many would love to stand here and take photos for future reference. Kwadwo Osuafie will forever be loved by the people here at Accra because they say he wore the name as a badge wherever he went. For Joy News, Nana Ojima reporting.
And may his soul rest in perfect peace. We take a break on Joy News Prime. We'll bring you the second part of business and sports.
And welcome to business. Pizza Cousins has rewarded retailers in the third edition of the Camel Display and Win promotion. The winners from each region took home a gas cooker, and those who placed second took home a refrigerator. 2 people were chosen as overall winners for the promotion, and they will enjoy the trip to Dubai. There is more in this report.
Camel, a subsidiary of PZ Cousins, has rewarded retailers of their products in the third edition of the Display and Win promotion. Marketing manager Marianne Boatin explains the rationale behind the promotion.
Camel Display and Win promotion was started a couple of years back. So this was in support of the Camel Buy and Fly promo. So we currently run a Camel Buy and Fly promo for consumers to get an opportunity to win a trip for 2 to Dubai. However, we are not doing this promotion in isolation. It's the retailers that display the products that actually stock the products for the consumers to pick and in turn take part in the Camel Buy and Fly promo. So this is basically the retailer leg of the Camel Buy and Fly promo, which seeks to reward retailers for stocking up on our products, for engaging the consumers about the product, and for displaying.
Head of Sales Operations Newman Mensah says the promotion has increased sales for Camel products, especially during a pandemic where a hand sanitizer is a crucial part of daily activities.
If you get a typical retailer who sells just a carton of a particular SKU or product, because of the display and when he's forced to buy 2 or 3 more, because you need to display far more. And as shoppers get in to pick from the shelf, you don't want to be distorting the beautiful display you have done. So that in itself helps them to upscale in terms of quantity what you are supposed to sell. So you would see that on the average, it has tripled and sometimes 4 times of what potentially they've been doing. And for us, it's a good opportunity of effortlessly getting the retailers to up their capacity without they necessarily feeling the heat. Definitely, it cannot be underestimated. I mean, you already know we are associated. We have the best sanitizer, definitely, which is the Carex. And like you can see, I normally move by that landmark. When you pick the sanitizer, definitely the disinfectant and antiseptic, it's a Camel. And it stands tall amongst all the antiseptics in the country. So definitely,
the Greater Accra winner for 2021, Elinam Metekpe, expressed delight for winning a gas cooker. As the overall winner for 2019 who visited Dubai, she shared her experiences and encouraged the public to patronize Camel products for a healthy life.
I feel very excited and I'm very honored by PZ's Cousins, always bringing up such exciting promotions for Ghanaians to partake in. I sometimes partake in other promotions, but I've come to realize that PZ's Cousins, when they promise, they deliver. I won in 2019, and it was such a great experience. In Dubai, standing here, I remember the amazing moments we had in Dubai. We went to Burj Khalifa, we went to exciting places like Ferrari World, and when I came back, I allocated a lot of shelves for their products, and that was for more visibility and sales, and it really paid off. So I want to encourage all Ghanaians, especially during this COVID era, we really need Camel antiseptic in our homes, in our offices, in our shops.
Now, the Ghana Chamber of Technology has opened talks with the German Development Corporation, popularly known as GIZ, to hasten Ghana's digital transformation agenda. Negotiations were finalized after both parties signed a memorandum of understanding to create and support digital systems for development. Isaac Kofi reports on what exactly Ghana stands to benefit from this partnership.
The establishment of Google's first Africa Artificial Intelligence Lab here in Ghana in 2019, followed by Twitter's quest to make Ghana its regional headquarters this year, seem to have set Ghana notches higher ahead of its peers when it comes to attracting foreign tech giants. Ghana's aim of advancing this agenda, especially in the COVID-19 period, is expected to receive massive support from the German Development Corporation, now that the Digital Transformation Center of GIZ has signed a memorandum of understanding with the Ghana Chamber of Technology. So what exactly is in this partnership for Ghana's digital innovation drive? Dr. Augustina Odame heads the Ghana Chamber of Technology.
We are going to work together on established common areas of interest that will push building a robust digital ecosystem for Ghanaian companies to develop. And then with the inclusivity focus that is within the MOU, it means that whilst we are building the ecosystem, we're not just looking at profits and how it will benefit the pockets of the private sector, but also how we can leverage technology to be able to reach all Ghanaians. Both the Chamber and GIZ believes in leveraging technology and digital transformation to be able to provide services to everyone, regardless of their geographic or demographic station. So this looks at things like inclusivity across gender lines, across income levels, across geographical distribution, and across different levels of ability. So looking at how we can better design products that respond to the needs of the human beings that we say we are aiming to serve with the technology solutions that the members of the chamber come up with.
And that'll be all for business. Sports is up next.
Thanks for staying with us. Time to bring you the second installment of Sport. I am Hans Mensah, and with just 8 days to the start of Euro 2020, and many Ghanaian football fans cannot quite wait for the 2014 tournament. Let's throw the focus on Portugal, who are the defending champions, having won the 2016 Euros hosted by France. Now let's do some local stories. And Black Stars head coach C.K. Akono says he has an idea about the threat Morocco and Ivory Coast will pose to his team in their friendly matches to be played next week. According to him, his technical team does extensive monitoring of opponents, and that gives him a picture of their strengths and weaknesses.
The two friendly matches against Morocco and Ivory Coast serves as an opportunity for the technical team of the Black Stars to assess the qualities of players available at their disposal. Head coach of the team, C.K. Akono, says he has an idea about the strengths and weaknesses of the opponents because of the extensive coverage his technical team has provided.
As to what we know about the opponent, of course, it will not be appropriate for me to make it public, okay? And we have a very good video analyst who is doing a good job, and that Zimbabwe, South Africa, Ethiopia, we have a way of watching them and how we can approach the game, and that is why it's also important for us to prepare very well. This, I'm grateful to the FA for, within this short period of time, to organize these two friendlies, which is very, very appropriate and good for us.
In the last Black Stars collapse for the African Cup of Nations qualifiers against South Africa and Sao Tome and Principe, about 14 local players were given an opportunity to train with the team, with 12 of them subsequently making the final squad. Akono says the home-based players deserve an equal chance of playing for the senior national team, and he expects that whenever they are invited, they will give their all to maintain their place in the team.
That's it for sports. You can read more at myjoyonline.com/sports. Over to you, Aisha.
And as I wrap up the bulletin tonight, my name is Aisha Ibrahim. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com. We have all the updates of the developing stories. Do enjoy the rest of our programs. PM Express Business Edition is up next. Do enjoy them.